In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a simple portable reflection pond for wild bird photography for no more than $40 US. Hi, I'm Phileas Stain and I'm the safari expert. And those of you that have been following my videos on this channel will know that I absolutely love photographing wild birds, especially at underground hides where you can get to eye level and get those beautiful reflections. But the reality is I don't actually get to those places very often. So I thought what I would do today is to build my own reflection pond that I can put right here in my garden. I know it doesn't look like the typical garden, it's very wild, and that's because I'm lucky enough to live in a wildlife estate. But the hope is that you can replicate something like this and build it in your own garden. Now the idea is to spend as little as possible and to use what I already have and to then only buy what I still need. So I used a camping table, an old hiking tent, I bought some leftover pieces of wood, and then most importantly, to keep the water, I bought a big plastic drip tray. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how I put everything together, and then hopefully in the second video, I've got some beautiful bird photographs to show you. Now the first thing to do is to choose the location for our reflection pond. I walked around a little bit in the garden and I found this little open space where there's not only enough space for the reflection pond itself, but also for the tent. Because of course they need to be a certain distance away from each other. And then most importantly, there needs to be space behind the table so you can get those beautifully blurred backgrounds. Now the thing that's most important now is to make sure that I get the alignment right. So I'm going to turn it around and you'll see that I'm actually going to be photographing it with the sun right behind me early in the morning. So as you can see, that's my line right there, and I'm going to keep the background as far behind the table as possible. There we go, I think that's more or less right. I'll make it perfectly level closer to the end. And the next thing to do is to pitch the tent. And I've measured, and it's got to be about 3.5 meters from the far edge of the reflection pond. Because that means with my 100 to 400 millimeter lens on my full frame Canon 5D Mark IV, the focal length is going to be absolutely perfect for those little birds. Right, time to pitch the tent. Right, that should do it. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to measure out that distance, that 3.5 meters that I need to the far side of the table. And if that's right, we can start putting the wood and the actual drip tray onto the table. The nice thing is, because it's all mobile, it's easy to make little adjustments throughout the day or even throughout the year as the position of the sun changes. By the way, if you didn't know, I have a very popular online course called Wildlife Photography for Beginners and Amateurs, and quite a few of the lectures actually focus on bird photography specifically. So if you're interested, go and check out the link in the description below. So I used the leftover pieces of wood to build a frame into which the drip tray could slide. It really was extremely simple to make, and all I had to do now was to carry it to the table. Right, here comes our wooden frame. Put it like that. And then next up is our drip tray. I'm actually going to lift it just a little bit from the back here by sliding this piece of wood in. Now if we look a little bit closer, you'll see that I actually have a little gap here that I'm going to fill with sand, and it should then spill over nicely into the water, giving us a beautiful smooth edge. And I'm actually going to put glue here on the side to stick the sand right onto the edge of the wood so that we don't see that in our photographs. Now these tall edges on the side were obviously put in to prevent the birds from drinking on the side, and it just forces them to come and drink here on the little sand bank that I'm going to create, which will make for the best photographs and reflections. And then you'll also see that a lot of these plastic drip trays come with these holes at the end to drain them, and I've had to plug it. I've used a piece of wood and hopefully I've glued it in properly and the water's not going to leak there. Now before I fill the drip tray with water and sand, some of you may have noticed this thorny branch in the background, and that's obviously going to spoil my photographs down the line, or at least the background behind the photograph. So I'm going to chop it off, but I'm definitely not going to chop down the tree itself, because little birds like waxbills and firefinches love sitting in thorn trees before and after they drink, and that means this tree is in the perfect position. So this is actually perfectly level, which means I don't have to make any changes to the table. So the next thing to do is to actually add our sand. Now just to not waste any sand, I'm going to fill these spaces at the back with these two pieces of wood, and then I'm going to pour the sand in. I'm not sure whether it's going to work or not. I'm not actually working off a tried and tested recipe, but I can always change it if it doesn't work. By the way, these bricks are here just to stop the sand there and to help create this beautiful little sandbank. Now, like I said before, I'm going to use some glue here on the edges just so that the sand sticks to it, and that means we won't ever see the pieces of wood in our photographs. Something like that. And now the moment of truth. It's time to fill it with water. Look at that! That looks absolutely amazing. Wow! Struggling a little bit to focus on the edge, so I'm just going to use manual focus to help the camera a little bit. In fact, I'm going to switch over to manual completely, and then let's help it find that edge. Ah, there we go. Look at that. That is amazing. Now, I know some of you might say, but that's in the shade. It's not a problem, because I know that between about 7 and 8:30 in the morning, when the light is at its best, that bit's in the sun. And now at least the whole edge is in the shade, which means I can still expose nicely for the birds. Just look how beautifully that background blurs. So that's basically what the birds will see. Let's hope it works. Okay, so the last thing I'm doing is actually putting up a camera trap, because that'll allow me to see what birds come down over the next couple of days. I've decided I'm not going to spend too much time here, just give them a bit of time to get used to it, but I would like to see what's actually interested in coming down to the water. Right folks, that's how you build a portable reflection pond for bird photography in your garden for next to nothing. I think it looks pretty good, but you'll have to wait for the next episode to see whether it actually worked or not. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you thought of the video in the comments below. Also remember to go and check out that online course of mine called Wildlife Photography for Beginners and Amateurs. Oh no!